Well, good morning, and I'm pleased to introduce Alicia Mangram as our 2021 Claude H. Organ Jr. Memorial Lecturer. Alicia completed her medical training at Meharry Medical School, UT Houston, and then East Texas Medical Center. And then subsequently, she was in Dallas at Methodist and has been in Phoenix for quite some time now. She's the Senior Medical Director for Trauma Surgery at Deer Valley Hospital and John C. Lincoln Medical Center, and also the SICU Medical Director and General Surgery Residency Program Director at John C. Lincoln Medical Center. I'm pleased to call Alicia a close friend, and similar to Mike, our relationship really has been furthered and fostered throughout Southwest Surgical. So, Alicia.
All right, very good. I don't write down a lot of things, but I did write a few things down because I don't want to mess up too much. So first and foremost, good morning, and thank you so very much for having me. Members of the Southwestern Surgical Congress, past presidents, executive board members, resident students, family, and then anybody who just happened to walk in the room. I want to first thank Rob Todd and Dr. Todd for giving me really this opportunity, in my opinion, to present what I consider a very prestigious memorial lecture honoring Dr. Claude Organ. I'm really honored to join this long line of distinguished leaders who precede me in this lectureship. And I don't want to just thank Todd for inviting me, but I want to thank him for his leadership during the pandemic. That's why I wrote a lot of this down, because it was running in my head. For helping us through this. It's just really been a challenging time. Do we have the meeting? Do we don't have the meeting? What do we do? I think he has performed his presidential duties admirably and effectively. So the last time I was asked to give a memorial lecture was the Thomas Orr lecture in 2013. And so as I kind of pondered on what am I going to talk about? You know, what do I talk about, and what's changed from 2013 to 2020 to 2021? I spent a lot of time reflecting on really the life of Dr. Claude Organ and all of his accomplishments. And I kind of came to the conclusion, I want to talk about the rise of acute care robotic surgery. And on this slide, and then I want to start it off with this in your mind. When you serve those in need, it's good for business, but that's not why we do it. We do it because God commands us to serve. He blesses us so that we can bless others, whether it's our time, our money, our talents, our expertise, or our materials, our resources, or God's riches to share with others. And so I wanted to start with just saying that. So I have nothing to disclose except I've met a lot of great friends here, and I couldn't put them all on the picture because I just couldn't, okay? So if you're not on there, I'm sorry. I wanted to put money up there, but my friends told me don't put that up there, so I didn't do that because I don't get paid by anybody to say anything. And I'm not gonna go through every objective that there is. So I wanna talk about, if you just indulge me a tiny bit, about 3 or 4 minutes, I want to take a few minutes to reflect on the life of Dr. Claude Organ, okay? Because he's encouraged me to take on new challenges, to remain innovative, and to always think outside the box. So Dr. Organ was born in a town called Denison. It's born in Texas, and this is Dr. Organ over here. And there's his mother in the middle, and there's his father, all very educated. He was the middle child of 3 children. He attended Xavier University for undergraduate Bachelor's of Science degree in 1948, and his MD degree came from Creighton University. Now, Dr. Organ was not accepted to medical school originally at Creighton. He was accepted to medical school in Texas, but once they found out he was Black, they told him that they don't take Black students and he couldn't come back. They were nice. And they said, if you get in anywhere else, we'll pay for it. So he got accepted into Creighton. And I put this slide up. One, I'm Catholic, and it was just very interesting. I really like a little bit of history. So again, once they found out that, he was Black, they said, we'll pay for your tuition anywhere else you go. And well, fortunately, at Creighton University, which is a Catholic school, under the direction of Dean Father Harry Crimmins, with the help of another first, the first Black Roman Catholic bishop, Bishop Harold Perry, they said, let's accept this kid. And they accepted him, and Texas paid for him. And so he ended up at Creighton University, all because of these firsts. So he went to medical school in 1952, all right? And then he did his surgical residency in 1957. After he graduated, he spent a short time in the Navy. He was the lieutenant commander of a Navy medical corps from 1957 to 1959. He then returned to Creighton in 1960 as faculty, where he quickly climbed the ladder in the ranks, and he became the department chair from 1971 until 1982. While at Creighton, he had multiple accomplishments, but one of his biggest accomplishments is that he established, and it still exists today, an elective surgical honors program. He spent a few years in Oklahoma, so I have Oklahoma down at the bottom of the slide, but he was really strongly recruited to come back to California. So in 1989, he came back to California, and he was I don't want to get this wrong again, that's why I wrote it down. He established the University of California, San Francisco East Bay Surgery Program. So it was sort of a side off from the main program, but he established that. And then he's had just multiple accomplishments. You were created on purpose for a purpose. And while at Creighton, like I said, he created this elective surgical honors program. This is just a picture of him and his wife, Claude Organ's legacy. Your personal legacy is more than simply a statement of how you wish to be remembered, or et cetera. It's something that enriches your life, that reveals you and what your life is about to your family, your friends, and your community. Claude's legacy was what he believed, and he believed that experienced physicians and surgeons have a responsibility to pass the torch and to share their knowledge with younger physicians and surgeons. And that was really his greatest accomplishment. This is one of my favorite things to read. The hard thing to do and the right thing to do are usually the same thing. Okay, they're the same thing. And if you read about him and you take time and study him, what is the right thing, he would say. And again, I've read a lot about him over the last year and a half. He says, the right thing is what's fair, what's equitable, and what's appreciated by all interested parties and stakeholders, which made me know he was a businessman on top of a surgeon. He was the first African-American editor of the Archives of Surgery. All right. And as you can read, this is the largest surgical journal. And when I read his presidential address, and again, I had a whole year because of COVID to really learn about him. So I read his address, and any of you can go read it. But I put the top 5 things that he said that really got to me. He said, I encourage you to embrace the highest ideals of our profession, and avoid the traps of mediocrity and avoid the traps of greed. Education, research, and improved patient care are the common bounds that unite us. Integrity above all else. Don't lie, just say, I don't know. Integrity above all else. Surgery is a lifelong learning experience, and surgeons should give some of their skills and knowledge back to the system. And again, so accomplished, it's just unbelievable. the Society of Black Academic Surgeons. He was instrumental in starting that, second president of the American College of Surgeons, and clearly the president of the Southwestern Surgical Congress, which is why I'm standing here right now today. So my last thing that I want you to indulge me is 60 seconds.
Claude Organ Jr. was an African-American surgeon who embodied the ACS slogan, science, innovation, and moral values. His exemplary leadership role in American surgery has been widely acknowledged. What was the background that spawned his incredible work ethic and discipline, inspired his agile intellect and unwavering commitment to becoming a surgeon? He believed that experienced physicians and surgeons have a responsibility to pass the torch and share their knowledge with younger physicians and surgeons. In his eyes, this was his greatest achievement. This video demonstrates his absolute mastery in surgical education in 1973 when he was chair of surgery at Creighton University.
The anterior abdominal wall is the principal access route to the peritoneal cavity, and incisions involving it are employed countless times each day in both elective and emergency operations. This part of the human body, aside from its utilization for incisions, is the site for a variety of congenital and acquired lesions. Noteworthy among.
So a little bit about our residency training, and I wanted to show you that video so you could just feel that power that I feel when I watch him. You know, general surgery, we do a lot. You know, you can look at all the residency programs, psychiatry, pediatrics, OB-GYN. But we learn a lot from these other programs, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then these are all the different programs that have come out of general surgery since general surgery sort of came to fruition: breast surgery, cardiothoracic surgery, colorectal surgery, critical care, hand surgery, etc. Wisdom. So I think when you get a medical doctorate degree, it's so great. It's, to me, the most flexible graduate degree conferred anywhere in the world. And don't get me wrong, you know, my nephew's a aerospace aeronautics engineer, and we need those people to get to space, even though I don't want to go to space, but we need all types of people to make the world. But a medical doctorate degree just opens up everything, whether you just do clinical practice or basic biomedical research, or you're a clinical investigator, or you do policies, or you become an administrator. It just opens up so much. Again, what I learned by reading about Dr. Organ, Claude Organ, and one of my partner's wives reminded me that about his last name, Organ, you know, the body systems organ, is he's an innovator. And that's okay to be innovative. And education is, you know, just what stems it all. And with an upright heart, he shepherded them. He helped the sheep, which is what we do every day, train our residents. He shepherded them. So my topic today is robotic assisted laparoscopic surgery, an approach in the treatment of common emergency general surgery diseases. Some call it emergency general surgery, some call it acute care surgery. This is a video that I want to show you. This is me doing a robotic case. I'm not going to show you much. Okay, so this was a big day for me, okay? I was doing a robotic case, and 6 or 7 years ago, I said I would never do this. And I did the case in like 11 minutes, and I was super excited, and I asked the nurse, would you video this case for me? She said, sure. At the end of the case, I said, how'd it go? She says, everything is there, Dr. Mangram. It's all on your phone. I get back to my office. One of my colleagues walks in. I said, let me show you this case I just did. She videoed me. She didn't video the case. So be very specific when you ask people to do stuff, okay? So that's what she videoed. I don't even know how she held that there for all those minutes on me. Anyway, so that's what happened. So a little background. Emergency general surgery patients represent a large group of people, okay, of acutely ill surgical patients at risk of death and complications. About 11% of all of our United States hospital admissions, these people are sick. They're more likely to die compared to people that we bring in for that elective biliary dyskinesia that everything's negative on, okay? So they're our sick people. All right, so when I think about the most common surgical emergencies that I think we should use the robot for, and I know I'm going to take a lot of slack for this, appendectomy, all right, cholecystectomy and hernias. We should use the robot, in my opinion, on all these cases, every single one of them that comes through, and I'll tell you why. So if you look at the United States Da Vinci procedures, that pretty blue line up there, this one, is how slow we are. I mean, we're smart people. We went into surgery, we got a medical doctorate, and everybody moves faster than us. The OB-GYNs, the pediatric surgeons, the psychiatrists, the urologists, everybody. It's like we're afraid of change. All right. And that's why this lecture is so great, because Claude wasn't even the least bit. And so here we are finally, now the general surgery cases are moving up with the robot. So trauma surgeons and trauma centers are responsible for not just traumas, but we're responsible for all these acute care emergencies or, surgical emergencies. And we have options. We can do it open, which is fun. We can do it laparoscopically, or we could do it with the robot. We have a choice. We get to make a decision. Things are changing. There's a changing of the guards. Do we do open surgery? Do we do laparoscopic surgery? Do we use the robot? For those that don't agree with the robot, I've been there. I was one of you. All right. But let's think about, what does the robot surgery, what does it give us? 3D vision. You all hold your cell phones. You love it. All right. This whole motion scaling, the wrist articulation, fluid movement. If you're got tremors from drinking all that coffee in Starbucks, it's gone. Nobody will ever know. You don't have to stand there and shake because you worked out and lifted weights. Just the whole technology, the ergonomics, but more than that. And the reason I have these pictures over here, because this is what me and my booger bear like to do. It's just fun. It is fun. You do not have to stand up to prove yourself. Sit down, take your shoes off, and relax and enjoy a beautiful operation that you can see so clearly. So this is just one of my Excel spreadsheets, and where I keep up everything. And this is when I started, and I had to write it down so I could remind myself that you were a negative nanny. You said you would never do it. And the red lines are me just saying, golly, look at all these appendectomies you've done with the robot. All right, look at them. Nobody agrees with you. They don't want to give you time. I have to come back from home after dinner to do it at 8 p.m. because they're like, no, you're not going to use our robot like that. But robotic appendectomy is a beautiful thing, and it is the future. And whether you catch on now or wait 10 years, that's going to be completely up to you. But you have to, why? Why? As Dr. Suker makes me say, but why? He says, well, the first is why. Why is it important that we implement this robotic emergency general surgery program? Well, it gives the residents experience, okay? I can do an open appendectomy. I can do a laparoscopic open appendectomy, but I have way more fun doing a robotic appendectomy. And the machine is just sitting there at night because the elective people are at home sleep. You can use it. It's not hard. It's easy to do. The robotic surgery training does require an investment of time. So during the day, our residents are busy. They have so much to do. During the night, when these cases come in or first thing in the morning, they have time and they can go sit and they can play, and you don't have to rush them. Just go sit. We talk about being accountable and who's going to sit in the operating room with the residents, whatever. They can sit there and take an hour if they want in the middle of the night. And pretty soon you'll see, like that video took me 9 minutes to do that case. And I think laparoscopic appendectomy is the next step. It gets them ready for a colon resection. These low complexity procedures can provide a pathway to our first and second year residents, and by the time they are third year residents. It's a no-brainer. And people that are doing it that are way ahead of me and anybody else who doesn't believe in it are just so far ahead. And we have to look at the volume. The volume is tremendous. We have over 300,000 appendectomies that we perform. And so it just makes sense to me. I know it seems like, well, what about money, cost, time? No. And just indulge me with this little video. This one, I got somebody else to record. It's a good one. And it's just a happy sitting down with great visualization. See, the resident can sit there. You can take the control away from them. It's just beautiful. It's no different either, really, than a laparoscopic, but you're sitting down with the best view in the world. Your wrists are nice and articulated. It's just, like I said, it is the future, and it's just a matter of enough people standing up talked about it before it is what we do on a daily basis. Uh-oh. Okay. And everything's not beautiful and pretty. So here's one that was gangrenous and perforated and etc. So I didn't want to just show you the beautiful side of life, but it's still, we'd have done it with a laparoscope. I'm still sitting down. I can see great. There's a staple line. There's that perforated gangrenous appendix. All right, so that's the API, which I think the API is the one I was most concerned about because everybody uses the robot for gallbladders for the most part. Not when I say everybody, I mean the vast majority of people. But when I mention the API, I get a lot of slack. But it's no different than the exact same slack that I can remember so clearly at Methodist Hospital when I used the laparoscopic equipment in 1999 or whenever it was to do an open API. And the next day, the chief of staff said, you don't know how to make a little 3-centimeter McBurney's point incision. You messed up the equipment for the case at 7 a.m., blah, 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 blah. And now everybody does it with the laparoscope. And now we're going to move on to the robot. So robotic chole, I don't think I have to do a lot of convincing. We know we do tons of robotic. I mean, we see tons of acute cholecystitis. We've had many discussions about it. But it's just another step in helping us to sort of mature and use the technology. And we have the indocyanine green, and we have studies after studies. I didn't want to waste time with a lot of studies. I knew I only had 45 minutes, and I wanted to control how much that we talked about this. But there's studies. I mean, there's no doubt this is great. And again, I can't even express how fun it is. And again, being a naysayer 6 years ago, I can't even believe I thought like that why would I think that sitting at a robot and enjoying the operation and taking off my shoes, although I'm a little afraid to take off my shoes now with COVID. It's kind of weird. You're like, I don't know if I want to, have my socks on the floor in the operating room, but it's a very nice way to operate. All right. So, if we do this early, because we think an API's a first year case, we think a gallbladder is a first year, second year case. And if we do this, by the time the residents become third and fourth year residents, they'll be so much more prepared to do that Nissen fundoplication, to do that advanced procedure, because that's all they do. That's what they know is robotic surgery. And I'll be very honest with you. The few times my younger attendings call me in to help, it's because they have to open. They don't even know how to open and take out a gallbladder or open and take out an appendix. That opening thing just really gets to them. And so since we know that's the direction we've already been in for the last 20 years, why not just continue that? And then, the people that like to talk about costs. Well, what about costs? It costs too much. Well, the more we train them, the less time they'll be in the OR, the more experience they get, then the cost will go down. And then really cost, and again, I have to give my partner credit, Dr. Super, is, demand breeds competition. The more we do it, then other people will come up with it. That's why we have a Samsung and an iPhone and whatever other phones, okay? The more we do it, the more we use it, the better it will be. And then for me, finally, this is one of the biggest things that I've had to deal with as a program director, and before that, an assistant program director, and before that, a resident, is the Association of Program Directors, all those ACGME people, all them, they want us to give objective feedback. Do we give feedback in the operating room, et cetera? Well, if you think about the robot, all right, we've tried to figure all kind of ways to give feedback to residents in residency training. Well, now we have this thing that I think we all overlook that gives great feedback. I mean, personally, I love it. The other day at the panel of experts, you know, who videos themselves or films their cases? And I want to say, I do. I'm not worried about being sued. I mean, I'm just going to either not show up if they're, I don't know, I'm just not worried about being sued. But this feedback is the best thing we have to give our residents. And it's called CSATs, okay? Most people don't hit the CSAT button, which if you're working on a robot, it's a little iPad thing, it's right there. All you have to do is hit it. And if you hit it in about 3 days, it will give you feedback on the operation. So the residents will have like just the best feedback. And this is one of my feedbacks. And they're going to detail, they send you first your video of your operation, okay? So you get to watch yourself operate, which we all like to watch ourselves operate. That's just the truth, you know you do. And this says, one expert had this to say about the hernia sac dissection step. And hello, Dr. Mangram, you can see it up there. Hello, Dr. Mangram. And they said at 11:20, good transition of instruments using scissors to hold on sac while repositioning the forceps. At 12:30, you try to keep the camera straight. Consider always dissecting Coopers at the EHR that is done, then mobilize. I mean, if this isn't feedback, I don't know what feedback is. And you could just forward that to the resident, you know, that they can say, they'll say, I can tell this was a resident case, blah, 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 blah. Immediate feedback to a resident. It's like we're overlooking the absolute obvious. You get to operate and sit down. You get to see better than you've ever seen before. You get immediate feedback, but we argue why to use the robot to take out an appendix or a hernia or this or that. It's almost unbelievable, the arguments that I hear about why we shouldn't use something so great. This is like great. Until you do it, you won't understand it. But sit down for over 5 cases, you'll be like, this is great. Why am I fighting about doing robotic appy? So I don't get in trouble. This is my study, all right, that I'm sending through IRB so I can have data, because I know you're surgeons and you don't really like anecdotal stuff in you. You got to have data. All right, so this is a paper that's going to come out. And so far, our aim is to determine the safety and effectiveness of robotic assisted laparoscopic approach to the treatment of the most common surgical emergencies. And then, of course, we have our inclusion criteria, our exclusion criteria. All of our variables are right there. Our outcome variables are surgery type, waiting time from admission to surgery, length of operation, problems with the robot, estimated blood loss, intraoperative complications. But this is just to give the people, the naysayers, something to say, well, she did do a study. So, because I don't even think we need a study for this. To me, this is like so direct. And right now we have 412 cases that we've already looked at. And of course, our conclusion is that robotic assisted laparoscopic surgery approach to the treatment of our surgical emergencies is safe and it's effective, and it is safe and it is effective. These are slides that Da Vinci will send you, all right, because they're so advanced. And the dark blue is general surgery, and you can see over the years the dark blue has grown. They keep all their data. It's better than TQIP data. It's better than what's the trauma data that we get? The National Trauma Database. They keep it for you. They'll give it to you. This is procedures, a time of day, which ones are done in the day and at night and at midnight. This is our growth by quarter. And all you have to do is text one of them, one of the Da Vinci intuitive people, they'll send it to you. This was a couple of years back, Dr. Mangram's cases. I said, can you send me all my cases and what I did and when I did it? And here it is. It just comes out and they send it to you right away. So should we use the robot for emergency general surgery? Yes, we should. And for everybody who thinks it's not the right thing, I just would challenge you to try it. Just instead of standing there operating, sit down. Sit down, give it a try. I think you'll be happy. All truth pass through 3 stages. First is it's ridiculed. All right, so you might be ridiculing me in your mind right now. Second, it's violently opposed. Some of you are like violently going, what's wrong with her? And third, it's accepted as self-evident. Robotic surgery. This is from Dr. Felix. Deja vu all over again. The growth of minimally invasive surgery, inguinal hernia repairs has increased rapidly since the introduction of the robotic platform, in part because of mentoring, simulators, and formalized instructions. I predict it is only a matter of time until the final stage of acceptance is achieved. My hope is that it won't take nearly 25 years as it did with laparoscopic inguinal hernia repairs. This is a talk that I sat through, the value of acute care robotic surgery and how to build a successful program. And I've been to many talks like this, how to build it. Just teach them how to do it in the middle of the night. It's not that hard. Put a port in, drive the camera up, lock it down, and you're done. It's really not that hard. We make it way too hard. So robotic acute care surgery, better for patients, better for surgeons, better for hospitals. It's fun. It'll help avoid burnout. All right, it's a new challenge. We all need to do something new. I mean, yeah, we can take a knife, but this is way more fun. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Everybody comes to your office, wants to show you about robots. All right, it's everywhere. So in conclusion, Dr. Organ wants us to teach. He wants us to give back, and he wants us to keep advancing. Tend my sheep, the word of God in pastoral ministry. I thank you very much for this very prestigious honor.